Hello and welcome to ETCIO Leaders Live, our new weekly show which involves a conversation with an IT leader about his digital roadmap and the ways in which he is leveraging technology to enhance the competitive posture of his organization. I'm Sneha Jha, editor at ETCIO and your host for the session. We're streaming live to you right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And we encourage our viewers to participate in the conversation by sending in their questions to our guest. So keep sharing your questions during the live session, and we will have our guest respond to them. And now, let me get into introducing my guest today. He is Gautam Datta, who is the Chief Information and Digital Officer at Bajaj Allianz Life. In a career spanning over 2 decades, Gautam has successfully spearheaded large scale technology modernization, customer centric digital initiatives, and implemented innovative technology projects for organizations like ICICI Lombard General Insurance, SL Group of Companies, and Tata Infotech. When it comes to enterprise wide modernization projects, Gautam knows how to translate ambitious vision into meticulous execution. He's been there, done that, and is going back for more. Gautam, wonderful to have you on ETCIO Leaders Live. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me here, Sneha. It's always a pleasure to be
You're
with
very
you.
welcome, Gautam.
Thank you.
Gautam, at Bajaj Allianz Life, your digital strategy is rooted in the philosophy that an agile and future ready core is the road to longevity in the digital age. You're deeply invested in efforts to modernize the core IT infrastructure. So I thought I'd talk to you about this project that you've been undertaking for the past couple of years, and in the process, also uncover some of the well honed best practices. But before I get into the specifics of what you've done at BALIC, I'd like you to set the context. You see, modernizing the core means more than just replacing old applications, systems, and infrastructure with a new technology stack. It takes a nuanced strategy that considers the business needs alongside the technical capabilities, as well as the resource availability and the constraints. So it's quite a complex balance and presents several challenges and traps for failure and missteps. So, from your experiential observations and learnings, can you tell us how organizations can best deal with these large scale core migrations while ensuring that there's no business disruption?
Well, you are starting with one of the most complex uh, problem that many of us face when we deal with this subject. Clearly, if there is a need to transform the way we are doing for any organization, be that insurance, bank, or any other organization, it has to come with absolute clarity across the top of the organization. That's non-negotiable. Okay. I'll give you a couple of pointers which are non-negotiable, and also give you a couple of pointers which are probably good to have. Yeah.
Mhm.
So having clarity is non-negotiable. Why you want to do that? Why do you want to get into a multi-decade engagement
Mhm.
and change something which is existing, go to something which is new? Whatever we say, existing is something we know,
Mhm.
new is something we do not know. So there is a segment of our part of risk involved in it.
Right.
Whatever good preparation that the organization does. So there has to be a clarity in the top management on this.
So you mean to say that it has to be viewed through the lens of the business need and the business objectives that are driving this project?
Yes.
Okay.
When I say clarity, let me double click clarity. Let's take a little closer view of what is clarity. Now, for someone, it's a legacy tech, hence it is not scalable, hence
Mhm.
maintenance is too high, or often we can't maintain because we don't get resource on legacy tech, and that is leading to considering changeover. That's one point. For some others, maybe the tech is not the issue. Issue is we want to connect with various partners in the market. Partners who are upstream, partners who are downstream. Right? Now, the current platform does not allow you to play like that. Hence, you have to migrate to. Or let's take another example. Someone is into an industry which changes every 15 days in terms of product, process, connects with partners. It's so vibrant. I'm not saying it's so dynamic because that has another connotation, but it's vibrant. And the current legacy is not scaling up to that level.
Right.
So it could be anything, or maybe something else, some other reasons of yours. Whatever it is, the management has to be very clear why we want to do it.
Okay.
And really we want to do it, what are the benefits we expect from this? This part of clarity has to be there.
Okay.
And all should broadly agree. It's never so that everybody would agree, but broadly all should agree.
Like they should arrive at a consensus.
Yes.
Okay.
That's extremely, extremely important. Also, one more consideration, often PaaS or core transformation is an engagement for multiple decades.
Correct.
Okay. Mostly engagement with a partner, two partners, three partners with multiple decades. It's not 1 year, 2 year, 3 year.
It's a long drawn process.
It's a long lasting engagement with a partner or two or three partners. Again, it has to be, it cannot be based on two persons, good relationship and we get into.
Correct.
Because it will overstay any manager or any management, most likely.
Right.
Will overstay. So that is another area one should keep in mind, but it's a good to have. It's not a must-have point of view. Second point, if we have to talk about, is very clearly when you talk about the clarity on why do you want to do that, that gives you a purpose. And when you actually started planning for it, there has to be a synergy.
Right.
Now, this looks like very normal, but often mistaken, that whatever is my business objective of doing this, and when we plot the whole program for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, end of it, is it actually addressing what my business reasons to get into it?
Okay.
That synergy between why we are doing it is extremely important, because decision often seen to be taken by person A, execution done by person B,
Right.
BAU run by person C. You have to be ready with this kind of scenarios, because people would change.
Right.
The program will remain for the company, for the organization, and millions of rupees will spend.
Correct.
That's extremely important. And I'm not coming to a tech. I'm talking from my experience
Strategy
point
level.
of view. Yeah. If you look into core migration kind of or transformation kind of a program which will last for long, you must be having really high hope for your organization.
Correct.
Really high
Vision.
aspirations for your organizations. For this to be delivered, you got to have a competent team. And mind you, I'm not saying competent tech team. Tech is part of it.
Right.
You need to have a competent team across the organization. You'll be able to collate all of them, prepare a project or program team, give them clarity that you are there for a couple of years now.
Like a crack team for.
A crack team.
Okay. Yeah? Okay.
That's extremely important, because end of the day, whatever we say, things are delivered by people. Their own, aspect of owning up a responsibility, delivering that responsibility.
Correct.
Extremely important. Many a times for a core transformation, you would see people from partner side also need to be treated as if it's your own people. And make them part of that crack team, as you said.
Okay.
Okay. because it's the same story that side.
Mhm.
Unless we manage that risk also, prior or
Mhm.
beforehand, it
Mhm.
might just crack up. So that's
Okay.
my next point.
Mhm.
My fourth point would be set up a very tight governance across your organization and across partner organization.
Okay.
This might sound like a broken record because
Mhm.
governance tech is
It's always critical.
always there,
Mhm.
but a core transformation runs into multiple years,
Mhm.
even before you see the first green shoot.
Mhm. Correct.
So it's your multiple years of investment give rising to a product after, let's say, 2 years of hard work.
Mhm.
There would be many reasons for it to fail in between.
Correct.
As old saying says, there are thousands of sleeps between cup and the lip. Unless and
Precisely.
until you have a very tight governance mechanism.
Mhm.
And when I say governance mechanism, again, at a very top, at a strategic level, there has to be a governance. You decide what works for you quarterly, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever. There has to be a program level, and then there has to be a team level. That has to be managed very, very perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. When I say managed, which means it has to be formal,
Mhm.
there has to be a minutes of meeting, all communication has to be archived in some place. Uh, we, I have seen people are not so very um, methodical
Mhm.
in this activity.
Okay.
Governance है, meeting है, we have to do meetings, so we do meetings.
Mhm.
But how do we follow that up? What happened in the last meeting? How have we
Mhm.
progressed?
Mhm.
Have we collected the MOM? Have we kept
Mhm.
those MOM for any future review? Have we
Right.
kept those deck in the future reviews? All of that are extremely important when you're nearing towards delivery.
Okay.
Because
Mhm.
then there will be many such discussions about this was not part of the delivery, that was not part of scope, this was not
Mhm.
discussed, he was not there. All
Mhm.
sorts of things will come back
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
your side, from partner side, from
Partnership.
somebody else's side.
Mhm. Mhm.
This part will save everybody's
Mhm.
backyards and
Mhm.
that time. Hence
Okay.
governance is extremely important. Also, it binds a large number of people into one agenda.
Mhm.
It also gives them a sense of seriousness to stay focused
Correct.
on this.
Correct. Right.
Okay, so it's not just for the governing program you have governance, it is also having lots of other aspect to it, hence it
Mhm.
is extremely important. It's not good to have, it's must
Mhm.
have.
Okay.
Okay, uh, now I'm coming to little bit easier stuff.
Mhm.
Make periodic communication to all users, to the all employees and partners of your organization.
Right.
Give them a glimpse of where has it reached,
Mhm.
who is doing what today, and who is expected to do what tomorrow.
Mhm.
Now, this communication apparently looks like I'm just updating everyone on what's
Mhm.
happening. Well, I'm doing that, but at the same time, it's binding the person who has done today's job,
Mhm.
giving him
Accountability.
giving him the authority and accountability of deciding how it is to be done, how well it is done, and it is done well, then he obviously gets the credit.
Correct.
Also binding those people who are currently may not be in the thick and thin of this project, but understanding that there is a role for me to play tomorrow,
Mhm.
and if he has to prepare, he is preparing. But at the same time, by communicating to large number of people, you are making this project more relevant to all of them. Whenever time comes, you have to push that change across the organization. It would be far more easier.
Correct.
Okay. So this is a may not be a must-have. Many people doesn't do till a milestone is achieved. It looks like we are trying to give information well before the whole thing is in a
Mhm.
shape.
Mhm.
Fair enough. That's also a logical point. But to my mind, communicating helps.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Create
So,
enough. And the last one more point, Sneha.
mhm.
Create enough reasons
Hmm.
for people to succeed in this program.
Right. Can
Okay.
you elaborate a bit on that?
I tell you, if you
Hmm.
are doing a core migration
Hmm.
for your company, you will be spending tons of money. There will be a big number of good people
Mhm.
engaged in doing it.
Hmm.
Now, how do you keep those guys very very upbeat
Okay.
about this program? Because this is a very it puts a toll on people.
Hmm.
What are the reasons for him to run for success of this?
Hmm.
I'm not saying monetary. Monetary is definitely there. That's the easiest one.
Mhm.
Okay. Somebody wants to do a certificate in, let's say, clocks,
Hmm.
or somebody wants to do a certificate with, let's say, INSEAD. Somebody wants to go for a 15-day, hiking.
Hmm.
I don't know. People has, they have a completely different motivations,
Hmm.
aspirations. You got to track that. You got to put some bet on it and make sure that they know that this is another part of themselves which they can live through if
Mhm.
this project goes through.
Mhm.
These are, to my mind, if I have to do again, I would definitely do this many
Mhm.
and probably invent a couple of more.
Mhm. Okay, so Gautam, you highlighted a lot of things here, like starting with a clear statement of purpose, and then having it very closely tied to, your execution strategy, the need for proper governance, communication, and how it eases the change management and adoption of such projects. So, at Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance, what are some of these steps you've taken to reimagine and to modernize your IT code to make it more flexible, agile, and future ready to meet your business's increasing needs, all while ensuring the highest levels of security?
Well, in Bajaj, we almost did all of those pointers that I just talked about to plan it and to give due credit to the significant seniors. I think they are well aligned with it, and that's why it is till now very very nice. But coming back to our program, our first and foremost target was to have a completely cloud native solution. Now, pardon me for getting into tech, but that's one of our agenda. Okay, we had been running, or we are still running on a legacy, like everyone in the industry. We wanted to be one of the foremost or one of the first LI entity who wanted to go on a core which is completely cloud native. Cloud native also means we would have completely microservice ready core platform. Now, that's one of the important aspect. The second aspect is, while we would have all sorts of security elements like a firewall or IPS or a DLP or a antivirus or deception technologies or whatever. you know. We wanted to be very, very clear that our internal modules, internal microservices should be able to monitor and make sense out of it.
Mhm.
How they are orchestrated, how they are performing, all of that should be able to runtime on a runtime basis should be able to monitor. The third point that we thought would be is something new. We should be end to end from left to right or east to west, whatever you call it,
Right.
agile, which means my time to market has to drop.
Mhm.
If it is in months, it has to come to a week. If it is in weeks, it
Right.
has to come to days. If it is in days, it has to come to hours. It has to drop by those factors. The fourth one was my error rate or default error rate has to reduce. Now, these are often very interlinked, complicated stuff.
Mhm.
These are tech stuff, my tech agenda.
Right.
My business agenda is definitely I should be more agile. I should be my product release or other releases time to market should reduce. I should be open architecture.
Mm.
That's what we started running with. We are almost through. We could see end of the tunnel, the green shoots.
Mhm.
If everything goes well with all of your blessing, we might be out of the tunnel sometime very soon.
Okay. Gautam, as an insurance player, you operate in a very regulated industry. Talk to us a bit about how you're leveraging the cloud to renovate the IT core and the front end to improve data access, security, and agility.
Sure. Yes, we are regulated. We are nicely regulated. And that does not stop us to use cloud sensibly. Okay. Then there are rules and regulations around it. But I think if you are serious about those rules and regulations, you would be able to accept them and still take the benefit of cloud. As I told you, our journey, started with an objective that we will be cloud native,
Mhm.
which means we will be on an elastic compute,
Mm.
which means wherever I need more compute, it should automatically, grow. Wherever I don't need compute or business is coming down or some process is not used by many people, that should come down. So that by default comes in.
Mhm.
Okay. Today, for various of our auxiliary applications, we do use cloud and we do use those benefits. Not only that, we also do use or take benefit of platform of service, platform as service, right?
Mhm.
PaaS we call it as a short form, and I think many of us in the industry would also be using some of those PaaSes. We also do, use or we have started using something called CI/CD, which is, kind of you keep on continuously improving
Mhm.
your platform without impacting availability for my end customer.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have started it in a small bit way, and as we see in couple of quarters, it would be all across.
Mhm.
Okay. Uh, we normally do things small, try, test it, see how much rubber hits the road and smokes gets created, manage the smoke, and then we go with all across.
Mhm.
On
Okay.
our app front, which is the end user front, I think all our heavy, duty applications that are used by most of our employees and partners are on already on cloud. Okay, so when they do use it, let's say I'm launching a new version of it. So 20,000 of my partners and employees would download it in couple of hours. It happens because we are on cloud on that. It happens without a single mistake.
Mhm.
Okay. And at the same time, at one point, nobody is logged in on this. It shrinks down to the level possible to ensure that we don't waste compute. So all of that is a reality today for all of us.
Okay. Now, Gautam, the applications that were designed to work on monolithic server architectures don't necessarily work well on a distributed environment on the cloud. So the teams often have to have a hard time deciding which applications should be modernized, What is the path to modernizing them? And should they rewrite the applications from start to make it cloud native and then modernize them? So in that sense, there are a lot of decisions that need to be made very carefully. And these decisions become obstacles in the path of migration, because it's not just about migrating the applications, but it's also about migrating governance and processes and making sure that they are sustained in the cloud environment. So how can enterprises create a roadmap for such migration?
Well, this question, there is no one clear answer. It all depends on who is trying to do it, on what all application he is trying to do it, who does use those applications today, what is those applications are for. Uh, Assume one case where I have 10 applications, all of them are legacy, 10 used by 10 different departments and does 10 different work. Now, which one I will pick? Let me put it up, because there is no one correct answer to it. All answers should be correct if you could do it successfully.
Mhm.
If you can't do it successfully, every answer is wrong. It is that simple as that. So let's say I have 10 applications, all legacy, 10 used by 10 department, and 10 department are doing 10 different things. What I would pick up, or for what Bali could pick up? To my mind, we would pick up something which is used by most of the people. Now,
Mhm.
why would we do that? Because whatever I pick up, there is risk of failure. So if I don't focus too much on failure, just be aware about there is a risk, and I keep it there itself, and I move into doing it, then I would pick up one that is used most. And purpose of that is, if I could transform that app, my business, my organization will get best of the benefit. Okay. Benefit at the very beginning. That's my selfish, stand as a tech leader.
Mhm.
But it is not. It does not end there. If you could successfully migrate, transform one platform, one application, whatever, and you
Mhm.
do it successfully, it sets a practice for the whole host of others, right? The
Mhm.
constraints, the restrictions, the reservations that you have often in managing this change reduces drastically for the rest of the applications. If you do ulta, if you take the smallest one, which does not have visibility across the business, you would probably go through the same cycle of tech effort, but it won't give you that much of return in terms of acceptance, in terms of setting the precedence for all other applications to follow.
Mhm.
So that would be my way of doing it.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what we picked up during this
Okay.
transformation. We
Okay.
picked up the bull by the horn.
Mm.
And if we are successful, the rest of the smaller, entities
Mhm.
will fall in place.
Correct.
Uh, and we hope that we would be reasonably successful on this.
Mhm. Okay. Now, Gautam, one of the big issues that's on my mind, and maybe it's on your mind as well, is around dark data, because 90% of the data that most organizations have is dark data, which is unstructured, fragmented, siloed, untapped, and humongous. But at the same time, dark data presents an exciting opportunity for early movers to secure a competitive advantage over their slower rivals. So, how are you tackling dark data at BALIC, and what is the approach that organizations should take when it comes to dark data?
Well, Sneha, you talked about dark data. There are many other names to it. Okay, for little bit of positivity in this discussion, let me drop the dark data. Let me take it up as unstructured or semi-structured data. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are talking about videos of the world, images of the world, documents that we gather, recordings that we do on our call centers, stuff like that, which are not tabular, which are not typical database. Okay. Uh, there is another big source of dark data or unstructured, semi-structured data is the streaming data.
Mhm.
Streaming data is where my user gone, what he has clicked, which option he chosen, why he has chosen that, all of those things. If you are into an IoT-driven business, all of those things over internet, whatever they are doing, those all are streaming data, right? So all of these forms dark data, and you are very right. The speed in which this dark data gets created and the volume in which this dark data gets created makes them almost impossible to tap. Yeah. Even if you want to store that in many places, I have seen becomes a challenge. Yeah. So one thing for sure that the volume and the speed of this data is humongous. Okay. That goes without saying.
Mhm.
Interesting part of all of this semi-structured, unstructured, so-called dark data is this gives you tremendous insight about a person, incident, a platform, and stuff like that. Tremendous insight. Like in a structured data, you would have a detail like Gautam speaks English or Bangla
Mhm.
or Hindi, right? Uh, Semi-structured data, if you analyze the way I speak, would give you various aspect of me as a person. Likewise, the way I use my credit card or UPI handle to pay out or to get paid gives you a very clear understanding about how I behave on payment.
Mhm.
If you equally look into the way I look into entertainment or consume entertainment channels or e-retail channels, would give you an understanding what I want to do. Closer to home, if I have to give you an example, moment you hear my recording when I called up my credit card call center, you
Mhm.
know whether he's agitated or not.
Right.
You know whether he's asking for help or he is trying to give you help.
Hmm.
All of those are never present in a structured data.
Okay.
Often defines the entity, the person, the instance, the platform. Moment you are able to crack it, it gives rise to another possibility to define your business processes.
Mhm.
Far more better way than you do it through a structured data. Now,
Right.
these are small examples, and as you see, dark data is huge.
Hmm.
That means the possibilities are infinite.
Fine.
The problem there is if you try to chew all of them together, it's
Hmm.
never going to get
Mhm.
digested.
You
So
have to
you've got,
sift through and find the diamond in the rough and then shine light on it.
yes, you got to find what are the top 2 or 3 aspects of your organization where you want to play through
Mhm.
using semi-structured, unstructured data. It could
Right.
be, I want to prepare a pre-approved offer for my customer.
Mhm.
So I want to understand what kind of need he has, when exactly he has need, how exactly should I tell him about this pre-approved need. Fair.
Mhm.
So you know you need only this much. You consume all your dark data only for this purpose.
Right.
It's doable even today, and it's many of us are doing it.
Mhm.
The point here is, as you are very sharp in identifying the use cases of your dark data,
Mhm.
your propensity to succeed in using it increases manifold.
Right.
As you remain all over the place, the
Mhm.
propensity of succeed reduces.
Reduces.
That's my take on that topic.
Okay. Now, Gautam, when it comes to modernizing the core, CIOs need to make sure that their pace of innovation aligns with the pace of adoption within their enterprise. So, what are some of the changes that need to be brought in the people, processes, and technology for a smooth transition and adoption? And what are some of the pitfalls that organizations need to watch out for while transforming the core?
See, many organization makes this mistake of not focusing on people and process. They often focus on technology in terms of transformation, which to my mind is half done. People is extremely important, in this whole game. Now, how to prepare them? As I told in the very beginning, you got to ensure that you have chosen a right set of people. But at the same time, please be aware that not all of them will shoot the bullseye when time comes. Some of them would be able to, and some of them would not be able to. Now, if that incident breaks your heart, then it's not a good thing for the program. Okay. So not everybody would be Messi, or not everybody would be the top player always, right?
Right.
Keep that in mind. Keep encouraging that team. I talked about reason for success. Keep giving them reasons for success, not reason why to avoid failure. Two are distinctly different things. Reason for success is a positive connotation of things that are going to happen.
Correct.
Reason for avoiding failure is a completely negative connotation to avoid a disaster. Keep this team engaged and motivated in a way that you show that you are interested to know how they are moving, because there will be long spell where there is nothing happening, as if nothing from a business point of view happening in the program.
Correct.
Right? Either you are understanding what's happening, you are trying to design the whole thing, you are trying to develop the whole thing. There's a long gestation period that nothing is happening.
Right.
From a distance, it would look like. But during that time also, you got to stay connected with this team and keep them in the game. Okay? Keep them very clearly, keep them trained, upskilled. There will be many a times where you and I would see that some of them require soft or technical skills upgradation.
Correct.
Please ensure that that's true. These are broadly, some of those areas where one should focus to manage the people part of it. Okay. Also communicating, engaging with them, all of that we normally do.
Right.
Let me come to the process part of it, which is also very important. When you talk about process, often a system gets automated. But what exactly it automates? Automates a process. Now, it can automate an age-old process. It can also automate a different process. It's on us. So on the process bit, what you've got to do is try and understand what are the processes that you have today. And if you do not know your current as is, you are heading for a disaster, for sure. Okay. So you got to have a complete library created of your as is. Now comes the risk of whether you are truly aspirational to become absolutely top notch in terms of frictionless to be processes. So as is no brainer. That's an hygiene. You got to have it. Now you got to have some kind of trade off in choosing your to be. Okay. Why I say trade off is there could be one thought process where saying this is one opportunity, let's do huge jump, okay, and go into a process which is absolutely top notch, absolutely frictionless. Please understand, technically it may be possible, but end of the day a process is effective only when it is adopted by end users. Right?
It's only as good as the adoption that happens to that process.
From a legacy process to an absolutely frictionless process sounds very good, but if it is not adopted, because the last person in the row thinks that this is kind of taking my job away, or this is taking my opportunity to connect with my customer in this instance, Now these are his drivers. If you take away those drivers in the name of making a frictionless process, then that process is going to doom. Right? So
Absolutely.
that's where you got to be very, very focused on the process part. We talked about people, we talked about process, then comes tech part, which we had been talking. So if you have an aspiration to go on cloud, then you have a kind of completely elastic compute base. You can have microservice, you can have CI/CD, you can have all sorts of orchestration to make things happen. Finally, you can probably also touch upon being an open architecture.
Mm.
That's the tech part of it.
Right. Okay. Gautam, the speed of business is heading into an overdrive these days. So, how did your core IT infrastructure modernization help you drive contextual innovation during the pandemic?
A very good question, Sneha. Let me answer you. Let me but decouple it from my transformation.
Mhm.
Last 1.5 years has been very, very challenging to every one of us.
Absolutely.
From a business model point of view, if you look into Balik's business model, we are very clearly up in a business where we need to sit with my customer,
Mhm.
discuss their life goal, then derive on some kind of investment options, protection options, annuity options, which will take care of their life goal. Now, this happens with multiple interactions on a cup of coffee or chai, stuff like that. That is the earlier years story. Last year, 23rd March, things changed.
Mhm.
Things changed in a way that I no longer can sit with my customer or prospective customer and have it discussed just like that I
Mhm.
used to do or my salespeople used to do a few years back. Now, this, if you see little in a different angle, can lead to agitation, in terms of what are you entering, I don't know. Okay.
Mhm.
Snehal is a name you can put, but if I put that as your name, you'd say that's a mistake. That's not my name. Yeah. Or I can give you an example of an address that I put, which even if I narrate to you, you are most probably making a mistake in noting that address. Hence, at this point, we understood this is leading to lack of transparency, or at least some bit of lack of transparency, and maybe lack of trust
Mhm.
towards the brand. So, what we did as a contextual innovation in Balik is we did something called Smart Assist, which is when my sales manager is entering all these details, onboarding a customer, he can share his screen with the customer regardless of customer's hardware, browser, OS, anything.
Right.
And he or she need not to install something. So there is nothing around security on this. And now what I can do is whatever I'm entering, I can share the screen to him or her, and he or she can also take control, enter her or his own details, and be with me
Mhm.
virtually in the whole process till the very end.
Right.
Okay. Now, this is one. Or let's say you talk about our iServe, which is a video conferencing option where we extend our branch service to our customer at their office or at their home through our app or our portal. Okay. If we have n number of services that we can give on a branch, and one need to come to my branch to take benefit of those services, n minus maybe two or three services that we do not provide on video, rest all we can provide on video, and thousands are using it.
Mhm.
Or you can talk about our journey on WhatsApp bot
Mm-hmm.
for our customers, for our partners. And these are not question answer bot. You would have
Mm-hmm.
seen many question answer bots. Each of them are NLP driven, AI driven, conversational bot in a real sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Right.
like you and I are engaging into a discussion with an agenda in mind, that all each of these bot would also understand the intention and possible options and interact with you. Okay. And each of them, if they cannot answer something, would be able to hook into a human agent. So
Okay.
it will not exit the process saying, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
While there could be areas where it does not understand today, and it will
Mm-hmm.
improve with its
So from
NLP
a
and AI.
digital touch point to a human intervention
Yeah,
as and when it is required.
as an it is required. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking about a couple of 3 or 4 of them, but we in BALIC took it as a challenge to ensure that during this 1.5 years of tough time, to stand by
Mm-hmm.
uh, all our customers and partners and
Mm-hmm.
take care of their specific needs with
Okay.
very contextual innovations.
Mm-hmm.
We are very proud of that.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Gautam. Some great initiatives there. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, and in this last couple of minutes that we have before we get into the viewers' questions round, modernizing your core requires an evolutionary approach because what's modern today can become legacy tomorrow. So, what is the right way to approach this whole thing?
See, one thing very clear, that whatever you are thinking that you are doing as a modern today will be legacy tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't think we have any way to beat that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We might say that the platform or the process in which we are going will remain relevant or top of the shelf for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 15 years. That's maximum as far I understand. Beyond that, it has to be seen from another angle. Maybe the whole point of modernizing it again would come
Mm-hmm.
up because of tech, because of experience that customer wants, because the whole business model that changes all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
what do we do today? Right. That's the point I think you wanted to put some light on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When we discuss about or decide about tech stack
Mm-hmm.
today, we make sure that we are on a platform which adopts very fast.
Right.
Okay? We make sure that we don't get married to our platform
Mm-hmm.
or a provider. And
Mm-hmm.
there are biggies around, right?
Right.
Because the moment you get into that kind of an arrangement, uh, I have a sense that we might get into we might get stuck into something.
Mm-hmm.
Second, when we are talking about business processes, I told you we are trying to resist the temptation of going whole hog today.
Okay.
We are going small bit today
Mm-hmm.
and keeping it open for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So if tomorrow something new comes in terms of OCR, new comes
Mm-hmm.
in terms of voice analytics, video analytics,
Right.
we should be able to take that benefit. So we are not in hurry to build all of this today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those are few small little things that the significant seniors also aligned, and probably they only thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
that let's not go and build it the best today, because if you build it the best today, immediately next year this is best -1.
Correct.
Okay. So we are aware about it, but even
Mm-hmm.
in that approach also, I don't see it goes beyond 10, at most 15 years with today's speed.
Okay. Okay. All right. Gautam, at this juncture, I'd like to engage my viewers and I'll take some of their questions. Marshall Wingate wants to know the low insurance penetration levels are still an indicator of how difficult it is to find adoption among the masses. So, what is your take on the innovation beyond downstream and upstream, and in terms of leveraging emerging technologies to be future ready?
Interesting point. I think Marshall would know, various aspect of this question. So let me come to, the point that we see. Uh, Insurance is anyway a tertiary product, normally taken up as a push product, not a pull product. But what we have seen in last 1.5 years very clearly is traction from 45 plus age bracket. Traction on digital from 45 plus age bracket has grown much faster than 25 plus age bracket. Much, much, much more faster. I hope that this trend stays, but we know for sure when we get back to normal, the phygital, which is physical as well as digital, would be the way to go. It won't be only digital. That's my take. I may be ballistically wrong.
Mhm.
Second, I saw that digital services, the trust and acceptance and adoption towards digital services like services on video, policy doc on mail. Okay, I'm talking about the low hanging stuff. The adoptions are far higher. Now, when you talk about penetration of these services across, unless it becomes digital, it remains very slow. The moment it becomes digital, the opportunity opens up.
Mhm.
Okay, so we are seeing good possibilities there. We are seeing it is changing, and we hope that it is changing for good and for permanently. Uh, and if that happens, that is going to be good for the industry. Overall, I think due to the hardship that we have faced in last 1.5 years, overall awareness about protection business particularly has gone up, and demand accordingly has gone up. Some of the new business model also coming up because of this new awareness.
Mhm.
Let me put it up till now because too much of things are still in future on
Mhm.
this.
Okay. We're getting another question from a viewer, Gautam, and you alluded to this in your first response as well. How can organizations work effectively with different vendor partners to pull off a large-scale core migration?
Yeah. The first of all, stop considering them as vendor.
Mhm.
Start respecting them or considering them as partner in a true sense. Not that you
Mhm.
just stop using vendor as a word and start using partner as a word. That's not the point. We all are smart enough to guess whether it is just an English or not.
Mhm.
Uh, because as I told you, it's kind of a marriage. So you got to be truthful on this.
Mhm.
Uh, when I say you got to be truthful, that means the partner is also into a business. He also will make profit. It might sound bad, but you have to ensure that he makes profit. Last thing you want is partner going belly up
Mhm.
while you are still in the making of
Midst
your
of this.
transformation.
Mhm.
Second, not every partner is best of their ethics.
Mhm.
Okay, we all understand that. But if you got into an arrangement with the partner, you got into it.
Mhm.
You have to work a little extra to find out where all the risks resides in the partner, and probably reach out to them or their management or their board or their team members, wherever it is right, to make sure those risks are highlighted and they are addressed.
Mhm.
If you are into a situation where you did everything but still the partner is not responding the way you should or he should, then the only option remains is you try to find an alternative. In any case, what is constant is the program has to go through.
Mhm.
Okay. I have seen in many areas you have to step way beyond your briefing to help the partner to be able to deliver,
Mhm.
rather than waiting on the fence and expecting the partner to cross over the fence to deliver.
Okay.
As exactly it is put in the scope that he has to cross over to the fence to deliver.
Mm.
Okay. But to my mind, practically speaking, at times you have to get over the fence, get the partner to the to the delivery point,
Mhm.
because end of the day it's your program, not partner's program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, core modernization is a very risk-prone, complex, and a long-drawn process, and it calls for a lot of investment. And organizations often fear getting lost in the labyrinth of migration and modernization, and also organizing their task forces around it. So, Gautam, we really appreciate having this mysterious area clarified by you. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today, and thanks once again for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Sneha. It was my pleasure to spend this time with you and your viewers. Uh, Thank you. Thanks to all of you. Bye bye, and have a good day.
Thanks, Gautam. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Gautam as much as I did. Thanks for tuning in today, and thanks especially for those great questions that came in from you all. We'll be back next Thursday with yet another engaging episode of ETCIO Leaders Live. Follow us on social media to find out who's our guest for the next week. Until next time, this is Sneha Jha signing off.